Mhm. Hello, Charlotte. Carol. Conspiro. Oh, it's back there. It's in the background? Yeah, they grab it. I didn't think about that. I was in here Friday and signed everything. You're on. All right. It's 7 o'clock and we're gonna start our January 13th, 2025 select board meeting. It's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock. Somewhere. We got the time straight. We just don't have it straight in our heads here. All right, I'd like to start with warrants. We have payroll number 57 for $1,964.52. I'd like to make a motion that we approve that. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. I'd like to move that we approve accounts payable number 58 for $25,324.10. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. I'd like to move that we accept payroll number 59 for $1,964.52. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. And lastly, I'd like to move that we accept accounts payable number 60 for $87,113.55. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. And that bill, the reason it's so high is because that's our monthly Bright House, not our monthly RSU bill that comes in, which is almost $80,000 per month. All right, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of 12/30, 2024 select board meeting. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. I'm abstaining, obviously. Yep. All right, we'll start with citizens issues, and I know the first one we have on our list is Mr. Evan Gutowski. Evan?
Good evening, Westport Island Select Board. I brought you a gift. It is a brand new flag of Lincoln County. I have never seen one on Westport Island, but every town that I represent will be getting one. It is a New England flag, which has no official status, but a version has been representing New England since the 17th century. And pretty much everything around here has been based on it. The original Maine flag originally came from the tree and every other thing, and the red was a common thing of any kind of British colony at the time. So I want to make sure that you guys have one.
Thank you.
Yes. And it's freshly ironed, which is why I had it rolled up.
Well, you'll fold it nicely.
Well, do what I can.
It's not easy to iron that material. Charlotte, I just took a picture in case you want that for your article. Just let me know.
And then I've got some contact info for you folks. Going forward, if you need to reach me.
Thank you. Thank you.
If any type of issues you might have with the county, you want to great, it's your folks.
And Evan, for the audience out here, you might want to share.
I'm the county commissioner for this district. There's 2 members of the board of the county commissioners, and no one ran against me. So it goes to show you how bad they wanted the job.
Congratulations.
That's the situation on the ground. First, we have 2 new commissioners, and this is the first time there's been new commissioners in 12 years.
Wow.
And we have lowered the average age on the board by 24 years.
Wait, so the other 2 were replaced as well?
There's 3 total, and I replaced 1, and David Lebeck replaced another.
Oh, wow.
So I replaced
Oh, yeah.
Hamilton Reserve
Right.
from Southport, and David replaced Mary Trescott from
Okay,
Amescott.
yeah, awesome.
And that's that story.
So we lost Evan as our assessor, but we gained a county commissioner. Thank you. Thank you for the
Evan.
flag. And are you going to put it up for us?
You know what? You need to go put on this one, you need to make one in between. If you want to come up there with a lineup going around, so we've got folks.
Oh, so you have work to do, huh? Lots of rules.
Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Evan. Evan, before you go, John's gonna say something.
Issues on the agenda that you think we should be looking for or paying attention to?
County stuff?
Yeah,
Good question. The county, most of this year's budget's already been set by my predecessors, so we pretty much are following through at this point. One of the things that's outside of that ballpark, we just approved a bunch of spending from the ARPA funds that came from the feds during COVID. That was also set by our predecessors, but a lot of money went to different towns for housing projects last meeting. There's a lot of opioid settlement money that's been delivered from the feds to the counties. It's for different programs to help with opioid crisis. And then third, there's always something going on in Two Bridges Regional Jail, which is our shared jail with Saginaw County, the only shared jail in the state, so. It's always something going on there, and nobody ever goes to the meeting, so if you ever wanna go to one, please show up.
Well, one of those
Jail, board of commissioners and so the first and third Tuesday, 9 AM at the courthouse, jail meets, 6 times a year, so. we- Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for representing us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, seven. All right, other citizens issues.
Well,
Go ahead.
last time I was here, you said you would check with the code enforcement officer where we stand with the junkyard.
And I apologize, I have not done that yet. And I will, writing it down now.
I went through my papers. And the first time I complained was in August 2021. Now, Richard Gray, he complained the year before. So basically, I think it's amazing that it would take 5 years to get something that I pointed out to you. There were about 4 or 5 paragraphs in the town papers that could have been enforced, and then you went with the state, but it's still a junkyard there. So I don't know what,
I know the last time I talked to him, was just, I think before November, and I think the deadline was November 15th. And I believe the last time I talked to him, turn off my phone. He thought he was doing what he could and that he felt like it was a done deal, but that was before the 15th of November. So I need to confirm that. But the last time I went there, I know he was finally putting up some sheds where he said he was putting up sheds. So I think he's continuing to make a little bit of progress.
a small junkyard. It's not as big as before, but it's smaller. There's still 3 or 4 lawnmowers that leaking oil into the ground. That's why Richard's well is
Yeah,
can't
and,
use it.
yeah, and
So
I will,
it's just terrible,
yeah,
5 years.
I will
For
confirm
something that
with,
could have been done much quicker.
yeah, I will confirm with, Gary that he has checked those lawnmowers. My understanding is he did check those and they are not leaking. So, but I will check with him and, it is on my to-do list now.
I would
But
go on, but I don't want to get in trouble. But, I was going to take some pictures to show you, but it's still a junkyard.
yeah, I know we are limited to what we can do, to how much we can have him clean up. The biggest thing is that he's not leaking, fuel at all, and I know that Gary has been checking on that. So, and I know he checked, at the end of October was the last.
If you read the state ordinance describing a junkyard, it's all right there. So I don't know what it will take to make it. I mean, I'm not. It doesn't really bother me so much. I live far away, but for Richard and the people around him, it's terrible. And they think that there's nothing they can do. I think something should be done.
Yeah, I will talk to the CEO and, but my understanding is that, the last I talked to him, that it probably this is as much as we can enforce, that there are limits to how much, if there is no leakage, if there isn't presently, and I can't talk to what happened 5 years ago, but if presently there's nothing, um,
5 years, it's a long time. That's why people don't believe in politics and all this stuff anymore, because nothing really happened.
Yep. We'll get back to you on that, but like I said, I'm pretty sure that, but I'd like to have something in writing from him that says that, and like I said, the last.
I don't know if the next
the end of October.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that should be. You've got more important things to do than worry about this, so you should be taking care so everybody's happy, and you can go on and I can go on and Richard can activate as well, and that's the
Yep.
way it should go.
Yep, although we like you to show up periodically,
I'm
so.
watching.
There you go, yes, you do, come on virtually, thank you. All right, any other, John?
Yeah, I was just gonna, check in the water study to see if there have been any thoughts about next steps, or we're still just waiting on the report.
Actually, it's under select board business, so if you can hold on, I did talk to Carol, earlier, it might not be on the official one, but, I did talk to Carol, so I can give you a little bit of an update. Okay, any other issues? No, all right, we're gonna go on, we're not gonna go to roads because, Jim isn't with us tonight. I didn't see him Tuesday either.
And then he said he would be here Monday. He said he would see me Monday unless I communicated with him, so.
Okay. I hope
He's been really busy.
Yeah, I hope he's doing okay. Yeah,
Yeah, he was okay when I checked in this week.
good. All right, committee reports. Any update? You want to give a little update on the, Fairland?
So at the Ferry Landing House, we were able to get the leaking oil tank out of there and replaced with a non-leaking oil tank, which came with 135 gallons of oil to use. So we're set for a little while there, which is good. I was going to suggest with John, I know you're not the liaison, but I will get a hold of those guys too. The hot water for that house is just an electric switch that's attached to the heater in the basement, which I can show you. I think it's probably prudent just to flip it on Sunday afternoons when you go in and flip it off when you leave, and let's not heat the water all week.
Great.
The furnace really doesn't need to be running very often because you've got the heat pumps heating the majority of the house, so.
So, turn off the furnace.
So the furnace can stay on because it may get called for heat if we had a really cold time, it may get called to heat the basement. But the majority of the time right now, it's running just to heat water. So to the left of the furnace is a water tank, and down on the bottom, there is an electrical switch. It's just an on and off switch, and that just turns it on and off. Up is on, down is off.
It's just for hot water.
Yep. Great. So it just calls to the furnace to heat the water that's in this tank. And it's doing it right now, 7 days a week for a 2-hour Sunday afternoon.
Probably for 5 minutes use.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's that piece of it. So I think we should be golden there. The furnace man suggests that we replace that furnace. We also have another furnace that needs to be replaced, and we have a third furnace that needs to be replaced. So I'm not sure that'll be the highest priority. We'll keep an eye on it. And I guess if I was a furnace man, I'd tell everybody to replace their furnaces too. Once they get to be 30 years old.
There's nobody in the basement anymore, so the furnace is really just, because upstairs is the
Backup.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a backup at this point, so. Yeah.
And that building is empty now, the basement is empty. Yep. John, while you're here, did you have any update on the, on your planning board committee?
Well, plan first of all, I want to start with the history. As you know, we have a committee that's working on a strategic plan. first order of business, their goals right now. Uh, now. So, Cat's gonna be in touch with you all about that.
Yeah, he did contact me this morning and said he couldn't make it tonight, but he is setting up a time to talk to us. He'll come to a board workshop, I think on the 21st or something.
For that last week, the most important issue with respect to the facility generator issue. Jack Kensbrook was going to follow up on that. I haven't heard anything more. Have you all had any conversations regarding generators? You all have any generator plans if there's electricity there?
I talked to Stacy the other day because I had seen
Okay.
Greg. And at one point in time, a year ago almost, we'd walked around the building looking for the generator that didn't exist. Because she thought there was a generator there. Stacy said he does have a couple generators, and we were talking about how we could figure out to share them with people who might need a generator in case of emergency. So he did say that he had a couple. We didn't go any further than that, so maybe you all might want to talk to him about in case of emergency, that might be one place where there is a need. Especially because typically what happens is we have a power out for 3 or 4 days, and it could be a lot of damage to the materials that are in that house.
For sure. And that came up at the meeting, somebody, mentioned the same information about, fire department,
So yeah, you all might, and I'll leave it up to you guys to do that, yeah.
no, I was expecting. Checking to see if there was any.
Yeah,
Do you know what's been done in the recent past few years?
Yeah, apparently, the folks that were running Helping Hands, care of all of that,
Okay,
and then. It was a reported meeting, nobody went out to look, but it was a reported meeting. There was a generator actually behind the building somewhere.
there had been, but
Yeah.
it's not there anymore.
Oh, it's not,
I think it was Mike's.
okay. So, Jack was gonna have a conversation with Mike and follow up and see what we need to, but. Given the weather, we're concerned about that, so I'll follow up with Jack then. I mean, we'll continue to coordinate with you guys.
It'd be great. I'll put that on my list of things to look forward to when I go to state surplus. So occasionally we get lucky and there's something really of value that gets turned in there.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
the conversation in our meeting, as you might anticipate, was, well. It'd be nice to have a permanent generator, and that's probably part of the long range strategic plan. And, comment was, well, even if we don't stay there, we can still have a generator and move it with us and move. But between now and March, whenever that starts to happen, we need some immediate backup. So we'll figure something out. We'll be in touch just to let you all know.
If you find out anything about generators, because the conversation that Stacy and I had was about loaning it out to people who might need it.
mhm.
And I think one time he had like 4, but he did check a couple out, and I think he said there were 2 now that seem to be working. Yeah, and that was as far as our conversation went, because it was like, how do you figure out who needs it? But it sounds like there's a town need before there's a resident need to deal with, so.
Well, we're trying to find any point of view of that, so we'll figure something out.
Yep.
Do you know what size you would need?
I don't think, I'm thinking that comes there. I'm jacked up,
Yeah,
and he's gonna figure it out.
okay.
On the planning one, I sent out that email regarding Ted's request.
Mhm.
And, however we do it, obviously I'll defer to you, but I think we need as planning board some express request for us to review it and make recommendations to the select board, if that's what you want to do. My reading of the ordinances, statutes, did not appear to give us authority to do anything absent a ordinance that says this is what you do, or a specific request from you all on an as it comes up basis to do that. So the way I'm looking at it, unless there's something out there that I missed, is we won't do anything unless you ask us to. And first opportunity to do that would be at our next meeting or second Wednesday in February.
So is it appropriate for us to just ask you for an opinion?
Yeah. I mean,
Without making it be anything, there's no deciding factor, it's not a vote, we just want your opinion as the planning board of
yeah.
what you see for potential problems or issues or questions.
The statutes and the ordinances clearly provide for or allow you guys to make a case by case request from us for a recommendation on that. And then you all do whatever you want to do, have to give the recommendation. And then towards it up to the town. That's the way it goes. But I beat the bushes. I didn't see any statute. There's nothing in the ordinances. It gives us authority to do anything absent the direction from you guys. Now, what I did find many towns is many towns have a provision of ordinance that says if you want to change the zoning parcel, here's the process that you follow. And not surprisingly, it's a recommendation for the planning board, select board. It's not any agenda. But we don't have it. So we don't have any authority unless you ask us to do it, or unless we pass ordinances.
Okay.
So,
Well, we thank you for researching that.
Yeah, yes, you did a lot of research.
get some other information, or you'll may get some other information from them that day. And obviously I'd be interested in hearing things.
We appreciate your information, and actually we were talking about it at our 5 o'clock workshop, and actually looking at where that location is and who the butters are and whatnot, and clearly there would have to be some work looking at butters and what it might mean for them as well. So tomorrow at our board workshop, I'm hoping that we'll discuss that some more and figure out a way to move the process forward. It might mean starting with Ted giving us a plan, picture of what would it look like, so that we could talk to abutters and say, this is how you would be impacted by this. Because it feels like that would be part of it.
Good place to start, especially.
Yeah. Because knowing where that location is, and for those of you that aren't aware, he's looking to, he recently bought a property that's right next door to the Lobster Co-op. I want to say to the right of that, to the north of that, it used to be Sandy Creehor's house. And wants to turn it into a CFMA, commercial fisherman marine access. But there are abutters there, and what would that entail? And we're trying to figure out who has the responsibility for that, who makes the final decision. Is it the select board? Is it the planning board? Is it the town? And that's where we are with that. So he was in here last week and talked to us, and so we're trying to figure out how to move forward with that. So John has done some research, April's done some research, and we'll talk more. We're not at all ready to make any kind of decision or really have further discussion, but
There grant funding for that, I imagine, for Jupiter North Waterfront, or, there's organizations like the Maine Coast Fishing Association, the MLA, for a couple of examples that might also have some guidance as to how Westport can save some money in going through this process, and then have some assistance, maybe even legally. The MLA is very proactive about these things, so might be something to look into.
Yep.
Thank you.
Did you get that information, April?
I did not, but.
But it's recorded.
What's your name?
My name is Jesse Roach.
Oh, yes, okay, I knew you were familiar.
Yeah.
And just a footnote to it, he Ted did this, was it 2015?
Yeah, he did it a few years back.
Yeah, and, everything we should follow up on, when they did it in 2015, they never made the change in the ordinance, which is really the final word on this.
Mhm.
And, you know, so we should probably pay attention to that.
Yeah, and our ordinance is gonna need,
Yeah, we'll put Lisa in charge of what.
being accurate in a few different spots where people who are no longer doing commercial activity, those properties are still in there. People who want to do commercial activity and went through some process. I haven't actually combed through all the emails yet, but Ted, for example, isn't in the ordinance, should be. So we're
Nope.
gonna have to amend that ordinance.
We were actually looking today at the different locations on the island where there are specially reserved and wondering, and this is a question for us to talk about tomorrow, is like, do you get a discount in taxes if you have a property
There's
like that?
Table, and to be honest, I glanced at it and I was like, nope, don't have time, but there must be benefits. You must be able to
Yeah.
do more. I don't think you get. I did ask Ashley about tax breaks. She said she didn't think so, but I think you're just able to do more in the shoreland zone than you otherwise would be able to do.
But if somebody sells their property, then does that ordinance go along? So it's not ordinance, but the
Yeah, it doesn't make
The-
sense
yeah,
that it's
designation.
attached to a property because we already have several properties where I know these people are not fishing anymore.
right, that's
But
what
the
we were looking at.
designation's still attached to the
Yeah.
property. Like, it seems like it should be attached to the business
Mhm.
or something. And
Well,
if they go out of business or move.
in a long-term sense, to preserve working waterfront, that heritage, the culture, and even the economic opportunities. You would want to hold that property similar, as you would designate land for other things, farming, like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You also want to take that approach with working waterfront.
Mhm.
It's a changing culture. A lot of out of towners are, coming to play here and they might have other ideas, condos, boardwalks.
Mhm.
We've seen it in plenty of
Right.
working waterfront areas that aren't protected by the local towns. You see Harpswell has made certain protections for some of these and has designated them as that. That also attracts business, because if you do get an entity, in that zone and have that offering, it could attract them economically to the island.
Well,
But to
that's,
preserve it, to preserve that land, you would also want to promote it.
Mhm.
Right, I mean, it makes sense to have it making money.
Mhm.
But that's a decision that would have to be made, in me, where everyone's all for it, and this is something that would help the island and help preserve working waterfront. That's been this heritage, I mean. Lobstermen have given the coast its identity, from
Yep.
bakeries to banks.
Yep.
And everyone in between has profited on that.
Yeah.
And trying to preserve that for the folks that did that, and there could also be economic opportunities in that.
Mhm.
well, I guess my question is like. The question that I emailed to the DEP person, because I'm confused about this, is it something that a town would say, we want to. Preserve and protect the working waterfront, we're gonna designate these areas working waterfront? Or is it a piecemeal, this person wants specifically to. Fish off their property, we give it that designation, and this person over here, we don't really have like zones or areas.
No,
It's very like
piecemeal,
random,
yeah.
You could consult with Harpswell,
yeah,
if I'm sure they'd be happy to tell you how their process went. And then even get input from the people using it. Another big thing about designating property like that would to say, okay, well, public access is that, and how does that entail the state being involved?
Mhm.
Because then does it become a state watch, you know what I mean? So those variables you kind of be careful with. When do you lose control? When does the state take over? That kind of thing. But I would definitely suggest to consult folks in Harpswell, that maintenance community, and they might offer some guidance on how the process works.
That's great, great, yes, we definitely, don't wanna just, we're gonna blanket approve it or just go to the town, because this is, as we're looking at the town properties, and there is a way that you can look at it and see all the places on the island that are designated. And we were looking at that earlier, and as April said, there isn't consistency where things are.
There's some that we thought would have been zoned
Mhm.
commercial fisheries that aren't, and then there's some that are, like, Oh, that's an odd thought. So yeah, it's a little bit piecemeal. Right now, it looked like there were 5 different commercial zoning areas throughout the island.
Feel that DMR would probably be involved in this somehow. I mean, they like to be involved with everything. So I mean, yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts, it seems, to create such a thing.
I think that's part of his application is with DMR, but I'm not positive on that. But yeah, definitely other entities other than just,
I sent my
Yeah.
question to the DEP person because he's the one I've dealt with on the shoreline zone ordinance, because it has to get approved by the DEP, and he seemed to be very into the details of shoreline zoning ordinances, so I was asking him, how do towns do this? What's the concept
Yeah.
behind it? But I haven't heard back, so
Well,
are we asking the wrong person?
Army Corps of Engineers would also most definitely be involved in this as well.
There's still class chart looking more broadly on the island around all these different stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like it opens up a lot of questions, not just Ted's issue, but it's like, how is the town run? And is, John has been looking at now, is there ordinance that is needed? And so,
Yeah, well, Ted and Deb brought this issue to me separately before they brought up wanting to zone the new property. They said you need to amend the shoreline zone ordinance because you have the wrong properties listed. Some that should be on there aren't.
They want it consistent too.
Yeah,
Wasn't there something we had to change also? From the ordinance that they.
Oh, yeah,
Guy that
yeah.
said if there's a lot of outdated
Yeah.
information and we did something so that we could
yeah,
hold off and buy time until the town meeting.
we have a
Right.
conditional approval. So we amended our shoreline zone ordinance at the last town meeting, just to update the definitions. But every time you change it, you have to go to the DEP for approval. So I sent it into them, they went through it with a fine tooth comb, and they gave us what's called the conditional approval, saying, we approve your ordinance on the condition that at the next possible opportunity, you fix these things. So at our June meeting, we're gonna have sort of a slate of changes, which I sent to, I know I sent to Gary. Did I send it to you, John? I don't know, I sent it to whoever I thought might need to know, but, yeah.
Cool.
But nothing, I don't think it's anything controversial, it's more like bringing it up to the
Housekeeping stuff.
state law.
More on our radar already, anyway,
So that ordinance will need some work, yeah.
so is that it for the claims?
So, thank you.
Because it actually segues nicely into our select board business, and the first item on that is aquaculture license applications. And we have 2 applications. Jesse? Thank you for coming. And actually, we had gotten these, and I know April sent them on to the Shellfish Committee because we thought they should have some input into whether it felt like it was an okay application or not. And so you want to talk to it?
Sure, well, Lincoln offered to help me install it, so. That's
Okay.
how he feels about it.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Jesse Roach. I live on the south end of the island. I am a Bradford cousin. Dan and Cindy and David and
Mhm.
those guys. I've been coming up to the island all my life. And then Susanna Mulhall, who I met in high school, we ended up getting together 27 years later. Here I am.
Nice.
I participate in commercial fisheries. I'm in Alaska in the summers, sometimes for salmon, Dungeness crab on the Pacific coast, here out of Booth Bay lobstering, and then north Gulf of Maine scalloping. So I'm taking Alaska out of my diet and moved into the oystering realm of things. And I chose Swan Creek number one because there has been previous leases there that DMR has approved. 2, I don't want to interfere with lobstermen, so it's a great place where there's no navigable waters and it's relatively safe. And the sustainability, the cleaning of the water. I'm also going to be attacking the green crabs hard.
Mm,
And if anyone has traps, I know there was a grant for the town. I want to really hit them hard, and then I'm going to work with Kyle at Sestanoa and Charbox Farm. So we're going to be trying to develop ideas for fertilizers and stuff like that.
great.
And even maybe even bring it to market as a byproduct.
Cool.
But all in all, I want to be a net positive for the island. Like I'll be policing end of White Shore Road and the surrounding shoreline. I've also been in close contact with Kelm, and I'll be working with them to be, you know, conservation, the biological things happening there, and whatever assistance they might need for sampling. It's also if you have a fishing pole on the island, you know, it's a big holdover for striped bass.
Mhm,
Which brings me to the long term of redoing the causeway.
mhm.
So a box bridge would drain it completely. And it would be destructive to an ecosystem that exists in a big way. The winter smelts, all the way, there were snapping bluefish in there this past summer.
Wow, on the inside?
The inside. And the striper holdovers are there in the winter, and that's very unique. And we have currently a striker crash in the spawning population in the Chesapeake and Hudson, and this watershed is another known spawning ground. That's why there's specific rules for striped bass fishing in this region where they shut us down, and then other places can keep fishing them. Because the Kennebec, Mermeeting, Bay in particular is a known spawning ground. With this crash in the population happening, that particular creek ecosystem is very unique. You don't see that in too many places. And to put a box drain would be devastating to the biodiversity inside of that. But I'm working with Kelt to kind of bring them up to speed to the different biodiversity that's happening in there. As a moist drain as well. I know there's some concern group presented to you guys too that were kind of anti in a large commercial sense for oystering. I think there are some not misinformation, but science that isn't really complete in those arguments. And I agree, I don't want large scale, but I also don't think that this island can accommodate large scale based on the ground, because we need kind of shallow this to go, and the shore here is just so limited in that
Mhm.
even if someone wanted to create a mere point oysters or but it really can't happen. Not only that, it's a DMR issue more than it's a town issue. And they had brought up something regarding, okay, well, the town has rights to certain shoreline. But the thing is, legally, you open up a can of worms, because then someone can also say that about lobstering,
Mhm.
and other things going on. So it's a slippery slope. But for myself and Neil, I mean, the scale of the size of the farms that we're looking is very local based. It's not trying to be an eyesore. So we keep that in mind as well.
So that's the one thing I was thinking about when I was looking at your applications, the causeway and what ultimately is done with it. With that's going to affect.
Well, there would be a lot going on, because then you're gonna have to have all these studies, and the farm might even be a factor in that. The four options were basically: one, do nothing, which I don't think is gonna happen. Two, make the same culvert, which would be ideal to support the biodiversity that's happening inside that area. Drain it just slightly, widen it, which would drain more water, but it would keep enough inside, and the big box, which would just drain it completely to mud. That to me seems like a negative, let alone the oysters. But for the striker's sake, for the other biodiversity happening in there. And then, yeah, so I mean, that's basically where we're at right now. I know that plan is a long-term plan. The LPAs are a yearly lease that is renewed on that year. If I were to go with an experimental lease, which I'm considering, which is larger than some, not full thing, but it makes it a little bigger. That becomes a 10-year, which I was gonna wait on that to see what was gonna be happening with construction and, you know, to work with the town and how we're gonna do all this and that kind of thing. So I think for now we're fine, you know, it's the planning on what exactly happens to that culvert. Is what would affect it as a farm.
Right.
But it just went in there, and I just want everyone to be aware of that, you know, with the striper population there, and that a lot of people make use of.
Did Kelt know about that?
No, they did not.
Yeah, I
They
was
did.
wondering the same thing,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
but I talked with Jeremy, and and the folks over in that, and they're now aware of it, and then they're supportive of my lease, so they're allowing me to access a skiff from their little corner there. So, and we'll be working closely together, whatever their endeavors are in water sampling, and just even if we're looking at observations of the fish that are coming through and what different things we're seeing in there, to keep abreast of the as it happens in real time.
Have you talked to Dennis about that? Because I think Dennis would be very interested in talking to you.
Oh, yeah.
He's one who's written most of the grants, and I will tell you, good or bad. The last two grants we wrote to do something with those culverts. There was one that we worked with Kelp, and it was, I think, $3 to $4 million that we had applied, and we did not get the grant. So it'll probably be even longer term. He's waiting for the next grant that comes available that we reapply, but at this point in time, it's we'll continue to put Band-Aids on it unless we somehow come up with the $1 million.
Yeah, hopefully we have a little bit of time before it dries.
Yeah.
So for what you project doing there in the short term, maybe the next year or maybe 2 years, is your access there adequate as it is, or should we be looking at somehow making that a little bit better access for you?
Well, the ramp, there was, I believe, an attempt to have a kayak or, a paddle type of ramp down there, which is now not really anything. I don't need it, but not just for my sake. I mean, if someone wants to go kayaking there, I know people go duck hunting there, and some people go deer hunting by a canoe from there. So for everyone's sake, it would be a nice thing. And I am not, just having a farm there, I'm not opposed to people having that access. And if you want to have a look at it and see what it's all about, that's fine. A ramp would be great, but it's not necessary for me.
Okay, so you'd be accessing it from the Kelp side?
Yeah, that kelp corner.
Yeah, the Segerstrom.
The other side used to have kind of the ramp thing, now it's just not
Walk
much.
away.
Yeah, okay,
So-
cause I put a boat, we put canoes and kayaks in there, and was it a ramp? I can't remember, it's like.
It used to go, but then the storm happened.
Oh, I
There was the reconstruction, and then it's just, you wouldn't want it, you couldn't back a car down.
yeah,
But I'm not even planning on using gasoline motor, I really don't need it, it's not a big area, I just use an electric trolling motor and a skip, or a paddle, I had to, and then. It's so shallow, I can even put on waders and work with cages that way.
Oh, wow.
So, and I don't want to put gasoline power or anything in there, I'd rather keep it as clean as possible.
So Jesse, you had two applications and we were thinking it's two different locations.
No, so basically it is 130 feet, a string of 16 cages. And that gives you the square feet for one LPA. Now I'm putting one adjacent to it, just literally like 10 feet or 20 feet over the same parallel line of another 16 cages. That counts as 2 LPAs. So and it all has to do with square footage. So basically, as much square feet as you want, you're allowed 4 total, which I may approach. We'll see how this goes. And then you can also do what's called an experimental lease or a more acreage lease, which is way more stringent. I mean, you have a lot more policy going into this, like Army Corps of Engineers studies, there's more public input, more riparian property owners know about it. It's way more in depth and it's way more rigorous of an approval process.
But you said it was also a 10-year lease then.
That becomes a 10-year,
Yeah.
In an experimental lease, that's a little different. That's what,
I think they're 4 years and the one-time thing,
yeah.
but I'm not sure on the.
And that experimental lease then becomes a legitimate lease or not. So, but I would go for.
Right now, you're going for
That
the
would
1
be-
year.
Is there's 4 rows instead of 2. Even if I went with a maximum, it'd be 4 rows and it'd be kind of off the side and back far enough where I'm not interfering with striper fishing or access and duck hunting and all that stuff.
How different will it be than the previous people who had trees there?
Well, I'm gonna have to clean up after that because they have, there are some cages in lines still in the water. So I'm a full-time fisherman. I'm a commercial fisherman. The ocean is what I do. Keeping my gear clean. I'm also using what they're calling stealth floats, which are gray in color and not black. So they blend into the landscape more. They're not as much of an eyesore. In the winter time, they're going to be salt. So they won't be visible at all. So once it becomes, the water temperature gets down to about 45, then we flip them over, let the air out of the tanks, and then they sit on the bottom until spring. And then which we bring them back up. And we keep the birds off them. That's something that the state has also mandated. You know, that's something they're not even clear of. They're like, well, how do you do it? Well, there's a few ways. Zip ties,
There were a lot of birds on the old ones there.
yeah, the cormorants, yeah. The activity of being there helps, but also, and I've spoken with DMR about this, like, what do they suggest? How can we make improvements? There are those like spinners that you sit on top and they kind of keep them off boats. I'm thinking if I plant a post with the fake owl, you know, so a whole bunch of stuff we can try. But I think it's still work in progress, you know, to really figure it all out. But human presence is going to be the big thing that'll help. The first 2 years aren't as busy there, but as the scallops or as the oysters grow and you have to do a lot of sorting and tumbling, and then it's pretty much an everyday occurrence, which is helpful in that respect.
You know, I used to own the inn. So I spent a lot of time on the pond.
Oh, yeah.
So the previous people didn't in the CFO, whatever, you know, we had the kayak, we had a boat
Sure.
there. So it wasn't a problem, so it shouldn't be a problem with you.
No, I'm gonna be in fact, I'm gonna be angled over on the Kelt side. So that whole,
Yeah.
I guess would be east side. It's
And
all
even
gonna
where
be-
they were, even the quick better way, you could go get around it and the only
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
the only thing you saw the birds, the cormorant coming and speaking and whatever, they were.
Yeah, that wasn't, I think it expired last year. But there was one prior to that too. There were 2 leases prior. One was a large one was smaller, but there is still a cage and a buoy out there.
It wasn't a problem, so it shouldn't be a problem with you.
No.
But were they successful?
They moved on.
They had quite a few years they were there, I would say.
Okay.
They left for different reasons. They had some success and some not success.
But you feel it's a good spot.
Yeah, I think so. It's very protected. And then if I wanted to make them more briny, I could always crate them and then I also have to monitor that. So there are times that you have to kind of let them spit the bad stuff out. If we get a lot of rain, for example, or you know, different factors where DMR would advise to, you know, to do that. But yeah, no, it's a great spot. And I think it's on the way, like I was saying earlier, just be away from the lobstermen, away from, you know, those politics and, yeah, and keep it kind of simple and I don't want to be a net positive for the island. So, you know, I'm very also open, you know, if anyone wants to get in touch with me and have any questions, if someone wants to come and take a look or concerns, you know, I'd definitely be happy to address it. Or I'd even educate if someone's not too sure or if someone hears things like, oh, I hear oysters kill the bottom and kill the lobsters or whatever else they come up with, you know, we'll offer facts that are backed by science. You know, I through lobstering, Kathleen Reardon, who's the state biologist, you know, I speak with her often about things like that. We're monitoring the blue crab situation. A few lobstermen have caught blue crab up way up the sheepskin, which is going to be another invasive. So, yeah, we're going to be really proactive in keeping an eye on it and preserving our ecos, you know, what's making our money, you know, want to be stewards.
Neil,
Yeah.
you've been doing some
Yeah.
some of this work, so
Yeah.
you have thoughts or whatever?
My main, first of all, Jesse's a great steward of the sea, you can already tell that, and real benefit to the island from that perspective. We all support, I'm not here representing the Shellfish Committee, but everybody that I know on the Shellfish Committee very much supports, you know, what Jesse's doing. And, you know, Lincoln signed off on it, Ted Christie signed off on it. It's been tried before down there, but Jesse's really knows what he's doing. And I can talk about oysters forever. We have 4 LPAs. These are the smaller 400 square feet. It's not, you know, the leases and such. But main reason I came tonight was when we saw it on the agenda, we weren't sure what it was. We
Mhm.
thought that it was what this is. That we know Jesse has a 2-week public period right now, but it used to just be like posted on the board down here, so. We were wondering if it was something bigger than that, which it's not. It's just you guys want to bring, during the public period.
Mhm.
Um,
Make it public.
and make it public and
Mhm.
comments go to DMR, and that's all good. But a little bit behind that, might have been, since John's here from the planning board, it's probably a good chance to talk about this. Again, I'm not representing the Shellfish Committee, but there is, the saving the Maine Fisheries Heritage,
Mhm.
and Camden Reese, who went around and he met with you guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He
Yes,
met with you guys and he met with us.
yes.
And he's a nice guy. But, the, we're wondering if there's anything coming from that around, if there. Behind why it was on the agenda, which I don't think, it doesn't matter if that's part of it or not, or they're really pushing for ordinances.
Yeah.
In towns.
Yes.
And, there's different opinions on the committee about that group.
Okay.
And, and we're gonna continue to talk about it. He came, some people weren't there, there's some strong opinions already. Other people just wanna potentially talk about it a little bit more. So I guess is, my main question is, are you all looking to do more on that as far as potential ordinance from the town?
When he came to us, we told him that he needed to talk to the Shellfish Committee, that we really wanted you all to hear what was going on. We would love to hear and have you guys come and talk to us once you have some thoughts that you want to share.
Yeah.
I think I can speak for the board, but we have no agenda at all.
We just started
related to
talking
that.
about the warrant in June, and ordinances, changes in ordinances, what goes on, whatever goes on into the warrant, and that was just one, we haven't even like. Other than coming and listening to him talk to us about it, that's as far as it got.
Yeah.
So it's on our radar to look at, but we're not. There's no.
Yeah, my opinion is
Ordinance.
this presentation to us was very supportive of exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
And
Vendors that are doing these farms will eat out the big farms
Exactly.
too.
yeah,
There's only a certain amount of leases allowed within a given area.
Mhm.
So just the fact that us Islanders are doing this. It solves the issue.
Mhm.
The other thing is, it's probably a non-starter because. It's a DMR jurisdiction,
Mhm.
so that would involve probably a legal fight with the state and.
These are some of the factors around.
Right,
It's
but-
not just doesn't make sense for.
So put something in place that's gonna protect our small local operators is not a bad idea, and
But it's.
I'm saying, we don't want the guys from Norway showing up and
that's-
taking over everything, or the guys from Eastern Europe showing up and taking over everything, but we don't want to say, oh, we don't want any of
We're
it.
at the state's mercy in terms of.
Well, DMR has jurisdiction.
We talked this one, okay, because I was at Camden. You came on the Shellfish and we'll jump into, but yeah, DMR controls the state waters, so.
Right.
And all these are applications for LPAs, which are the smaller, and the leases, the approvals from the DMR. DMR has processes around all of them, which are pretty extensive.
Mhm.
And much more so even for leases, but for us, it's a 20-page application signed off by people like Lincoln and Ted and riparian owners. It's a big process. So they control the waters, they have a process that looks for input. We can talk, this group doesn't think that DMR's process is necessarily good enough for industrial aquaculture, which is 5 acres or more. So that's big, and it's a question of that kind of size aquaculture would even come to Westport, or not. There is some feelings within our group, not everybody, but that they it's not just that on their agenda. There's also a kind of information that's coming out that some people would say is misinformation around aquaculture. That kind of puts a weight on all, even small aquaculture, and just generally on aquaculture, is part of kind of what's behind it, not just industrial aquaculture, even though they very much say, and we do believe that they support small aquaculture. What Jesse's referring to is, this goes into home rule. If towns start doing ordinances and things around this, the state has already said, this is our decision. So there's other legal implications of towns, getting involved with DMR. Towns can do what's right for themselves, and everybody agrees we don't want big industrial culture. That's what everybody agrees with
I
that.
think they even said when they were here that it's probably not, our area is probably not relevant to that, but what they were saying is it was kind of like you sort of supportive of the whole idea in and of itself, like if more towns do these ordinances, I'm just using your words,
I understand.
that it would be like more of a collective.
They're definitely saying that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it more as a shellfish committee.
Mhm.
Nobody wants industrial aquaculture forced on a local entity. I mean, and when you start with that's what we're trying to protect against. Everybody's on the same page about that.
Of course.
How
you get there,
How you
yeah.
get there and what are the implications when
Yeah.
you do what they're proposing
Right.
or not. There's more implications than. And so we're gonna discuss it more as a
Okay,
group,
good.
but it's important for us to know if
Oh,
other people
yeah,
are
yeah.
working that, separately.
John?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm aware of it just because I attended a meeting where they made a presentation, but they haven't made a presentation to the planning board.
Oh,
They're
I
not,
thought
they're not.
I thought they did come to the planning board. Oh,
No.
All right.
Yeah,
Are
they
they
came
gonna-
here just out of the blue one day. We didn't even invite them. They just happened to be here.
Yep.
And so we let them do their
Yeah, it's from-
presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we then sent them to you because we felt like, you all needed to have some conversation around it. So as I said, when you have some thoughts, will you sort of
Okay.
agree or disagree or whatever, then let's have a bigger meeting about it. Because we have, it definitely is not on our agenda as far as we're gonna do something now. If it means
It's a
important,
discussion. Yeah.
we're sort of shying.
I'd forgotten about it completely.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't.
Did they ever email, they're gonna email some like sample ordinances or something?
Yeah, I think it was the first time he gave
He did that.
some, yeah,
We have that.
yeah.
I just feel like the town could be more effective on the land side of things, because yes, the water is not in control, but how do you get to the water? I think as a preventive thing. You can come out of Wiscasset, but you can't land in Westport, if you wanted to protect the town in that respect, protecting the land, I think would be the most effective. Way to keep these larger foreign entities involved from being involved, it's keep them off the land.
It's interesting because before the ferry landing, before we finally got that, there was absolutely no access, public access to except the co-op if you happen to have a sailboat or something, but there was just really no way that people could access the water unless you had your own, it was private land, but there wasn't a public ramp or float anywhere on the island. So it was a lot of conversation about when we bought that piece of property. So there is, and it is public to anybody, because there have been conversations about whether we should allow warmers and clammers and whatnot there, but it is public. It's required that it's public. But yeah, I appreciate you all having conversations around that before. But we would not do anything without having your input. Definitely. Yeah, we try to make sure that we're a cohesive group. John comes almost every week and you know how to get a hold of us. And I want to go back to something you said, Jesse, and I'm a retired adult educator, so education is where I always think. But I would definitely think it would be a great idea if you and Neil, once this all gets approved and you start to do something out there, I would love to have offer a presentation at the town office to the town office or the town hall where people can learn about, you know, what are those boxes out there and what do
Sure.
they do? And I think just a nice presentation, answering some of those questions, maybe showing people how, you know, the process or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think people would be interested in knowing, especially if there's activity going on.
Yeah, I already, well, I'm going into my third year, I wanted to bridge the gap between the non-fishing community and the fishing community, so I created an event called Music Masks and Lobster Traps, which we held in Bath.
Say it again,
Music Masks and Lobster Traps.
music, mass and lobster traps,
So what
okay.
it is I got the Mallet Brothers band, who I've been working with for years. I came from the entertainment industry, so I met them years ago on tour. And then, but I wanted a way where the non-fishing public could get to know the working waterfront folks. So we had booths with all various you know, Maine Lobster Association, Maine Coast Fishing Association, Muir Point Oyster, just really Chipotle fishermen. So we had these booths and exhibits. We also had Maine Maritime Academy that came with the author of the book from Booth Bay. So this way the band attracted people, but then when they got go to these various booths and kind of see what we were all about and how we tie in culturally, economically. And it stemmed from when we were under attack for the lobster and we got red listed, they were going to shut us down. I thought it was going to be really important to get constituents of all to really say, hey, look, you know, we built you this identity, you know, would help us, you know. But since then it's become a celebration of the working waterfront. So we moved it over to Booth Bay to the Railway Village, where we're going to have we had a few hundred people last time. We also got Mass Landing Brewery came up with their own brew with Extra Tough Boots and Rugged Seas, which is a main company that takes recycled fishing gear and repurposes them. And they created a brew, and a portion of that goes back to nonprofit working waterfronts. Because of the first concert, we were able to donate $10,000 to rebuild the working waterfront after last January storm.
Wow, nice.
And we work closely with the Maine Lobsterman Community Alliance, which is a C3 branch of the MLA, which is 6. The MLA takes care of more of legal stuff. The MLCA is more community action and more public things. So yeah, I mean, that's right up my alley. Put together some, in fact, probably talk to Kyle. Get some.
Yeah, I was just thinking we have our own brewery right here. We can do something right here.
And I've been talking with Andrew Bushner, who's also got a lease down at the end of the island. That we should do a Westport Island like Oyster Day and with Cessnoa and I was even entertaining the thought. I was talking to Susanna about it today. It's like, well, that'd be kind of cool if I got together with Brooks Trout Mill and we did a community green crab trap building, so the waterfront owners can use it maybe for as well to learn how to, you know, to make these green crab traps and do our own trapping to fertilize our own gardens or even try it at culinary level, which a lot of people are doing nowadays. And to raise awareness and, you know, to kind of keep that going, which is what I've been focusing on and working with greencrab.org as well the last couple of years in that realm of the green crab issue that we're having. So yeah, but yeah, that'd be a great thing to do.
So if we approve this, it'll be on the condition that you help us do something, because it sounds. That's great.
Yeah, because public outreach and education is a big part of my advocacy for working waterfront.
Yeah, and we have such a mixture here on the island and we do have a working waterfront and yet we have a lot of retired people who have never been on the water and, you know, to be able to understand all people on the island and where we're all coming from.
Yeah, shared space. It's a shared space that, you know, and a lot of times there's infighting, you know, between sportsmen and commercial guys and just in general. So it's always, we want to create unity, kind of bridge
Yeah,
the gap
exactly.
and make it look like that.
Communication is always important.
Yeah.
Yeah, meet people where they are.
Yeah.
That's a big thing,
Yep.
you know, and that's where the concert's been kind of effective the last, going on 3 years now.
When is that?
It's going to be, it's usually the last Sunday in in August, but this one falls on Labor Day, so we're gonna do it on August 24th. And it'll be at Railway Village in Booth Bay. But I'll bring a flyer, I'll posters and whatnot. so.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just want you to know that I'm on the WCA and,
Oh.
and we actually have a concert. That'll probably be at Sassanova Brewery, and it is on August 23rd.
Oh, the day before. Yeah, so I'm on a Sunday. So the reason why I do Sunday is so the lobstering families can go, because we're not allowed to go lobstering on a Sunday.
That's right.
So, and then it's after the last lobster boat races. So that way we're not, pulling people away from it. So and all the boat races are done and we still can't fish on Sundays, so. And it's.
And nothing else to do, we might as well go to the
It's
party.
a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Have some oysters, some beer, a lot of great food. We had, had great vendors for food and the Mallett Brothers great. We had Dave Mallett this past summer. He played with them before he passed on, unfortunately, not too long ago. But that was really something that David Mallett played. So yeah, and they're on the schedule to be back for this coming. So we'll be there.
And August 2nd, we're gonna have hopefully an ice cream social, so maybe we could piggyback on that, so that we're doing something already for trying to bring the community together. So
Sure.
we could coordinate that, that would be great.
Yeah. It's being hard to be. It's
Yep.
work.
And I know Suzanne has been in contact with Meg because we had our meet and greet at the Tarbox Inn this past year, which was the first time we did that. So I know there's been some conversation. So yeah,
Sure, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
great.
I'm happy to do any information too, as what other people don't on oysters and green crabs. They're gonna change the laws too, we're probably not gonna be able to sell them. Not sell them, but give them in bigger, right now I can't do a town event. And have everybody have the oysters. I won't go into why, some of the ways it's from a safety perspective,
Mhm.
but they're changing some of those rules, so. Just from an education perspective, myself and other people and Jesse be available to do anything that you think might be not, people would like to hear.
Well, I like your idea. I know, was it last month when you had the oyster that had 4 pearls in it or something?
From over, it's, oysters,
Yeah, so it's like, that's been, and the whole process, I think kids would really be.
yeah, so I'm 4 years to do it, I have, there's now, it's me, Andrew, Kevin McMahon, and now Jesse, have 4 small farms.
And your 4th year, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes 2 to 3 years from the grow and. Now I'm up and running.
Wow.
To sell them and, yeah,
That's neat.
So this process that you're going through right now, Jesse,
Mhm.
is a 1-year process, but your oysters wouldn't even be full grown by the end of the year.
Nope, as long as I renew, it carries over.
So it's a renewal process after this year.
Exactly.
So it'll be a little bit easier to deal with.
And there's also, they have hold periods for comment for existing, which was November.
I'm not even sure when the period's
It was November, but so there's always annual comment periods in case something.
Okay,
comes up.
yeah.
But, yeah.
That makes sense.
Big news and I think DMR, I've had conversations with Hannah at DMR and she said, the lease looks good and the location looks good, so barring any legitimate issues, we're good to go.
So, can we give approval tonight? I know there's.
That's a DMR.
Yeah.
One thing.
We can have a local ordinance.
I could,
So.
If you chose Camden North, that's.
yeah, that was part of it, this is very, very good from a transparency and such, but part of it is that it's, DMR, comments go to DMR.
Right.
And they make.
So how are we posting that? How are we?
So I put it on the bulletin board, which I think is what has
Yeah.
But then in addition, you guys asked me to send it to the Shellfish Committee and put it on the agenda, so.
Yep.
We're doing a little more than you have to, I guess, to let the public know this is happening. If you wanna make a comment, it
So
goes to DMR.
if I made a motion that we, say that we think, this idea is great, then that would be in the minutes.
Sure.
So I'd like to make a motion that, we hope that Jesse, has approval because, it's something, I like the idea that it's a local, resident who's wanting to use.
Plus, you're gonna have eyes on a,
Yeah.
a delicate area that
Yeah.
otherwise on the island wouldn't be looked at.
Yeah.
Such scrutiny, and it's important.
Yeah, if that mock culvert went in, I would probably
Yeah, I
be
mean-
more upset with the stripers than I would.
Yeah,
roosters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it was
So-
definitely
Do I have a second?
a second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that's a positive comment that could be sent maybe to it, sure.
Yeah,
If select board.
for sure.
Of it, yeah, I'm in support of it.
I wanna encourage you to move forward with the green crab
Ah,
traps.
yes, yeah.
And then like getting those guys involved,
That's
right?
exactly-
Like get them started catching green crabs and that's gonna get them excited about aquaculture.
I could bring in someone, I know there's someone from Green Crab Not Work, it's very heavily into the culinary too, so you could even do, if you really wanted to, you could have a culinary night where you can, I
Mhm.
don't know, legally, I guess it's voluntary, I don't know, we have to look into that part, but there is someone I can bring that can show you how to make anything from gorums, which is like the fish sauce, to when they're soft shell, there's all sorts of ways that people are using them in a culinary manner, so I can bring in people way smarter than I am about the use of the green crab, but right now, for me, I want to focus on fertilizer in it, so I'm gonna be working with Kyle and the different ways we can work with the pH, see what pH we need and really formulate it to be something that's useful.
That's amazing, that's a great idea.
Great.
So-
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, you have my numbers on there, so if you need it, I can,
Yep.
my email, my
And I
number.
know where you live.
Yeah, I know, all over it.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
I'm on borrowed time because the iPad's out of batteries. And this
Okay.
guy needs dinner. So,
You want to set a meeting date or,
yeah, the only two things I have in here for you guys, I wanted to set the town meeting date, might be a little early, but it bumps all these other deadlines
Right.
back, so it helps me to know, like, when do we have to have, we have to have a stuff town meeting, when should we have it by, all that stuff. So I'm thinking, June 21st at, my preferred start time is 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
That's what you know.
That worked well this year.
It worked good last time. We had higher participation than normal, so I don't know if that was all of our.
Keep the meeting an hour shorter.
yeah, we have a WCA meet and greet that day, but it doesn't start till 4, so that'll be an encouragement to have people.
That's great.
Nice segue.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure if it's good or bad.
Yeah, but that right now is tentatively scheduled for
Good.
first. Yes. Yeah.
Inside.
The 21st sounds good.
People there, we can just invite them back.
Yeah. And the only caveat is, it's kind of dependent on the date of the election.
Mhm.
It has to be within 2 weeks of the June election, which I think is gonna be the 10th. That's the second Tuesday in June. But the state hasn't said anything, so I don't know if they're having one or not. It's not a primary year. Sometimes all of a sudden there'll be a referendum. They'll wanna have an election.
They announce the date.
Yeah, but and it
It's
should be the
it's
10th.
usually around that anyway.
I don't know
Yeah.
why they would
Probably
be
safe to do the 21st.
That's
Yep.
what I'm gonna plan on.
Yeah,
now,
okay.
and
Yep.
I get you,
Okay.
yeah.
And our February meeting schedule, we're still meeting every other week right now at 6 o'clock.
Till we get into
Okay.
Yeah,
so
we'll
budget
get into-
stuff.
yeah.
Sticking with that schedule.
And we'll still have,
Essentially gonna be gone some in February, but I think I will be able to meet by Zoom.
Yep. and if not, we'll still have our meeting.
Sure.
And we'll still plan to meet every Tuesday from 4 to 6 for our workshop.
so it'll be 10 and 24 for
Yep.
February
Yeah.
or.
So I would like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting. If
Right,
we-
what about the Carol?
Carol White thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, I forgot.
Well, the whole thing, John's been waiting for.
I'm gonna jump now.
Yeah, yes.
Thanks,
Yeah.
and I'll walk them.
You guys are out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, it's great meeting you.
Yes, yeah, thank you for all your work. Just an update, and actually, it's a request that I have of all of you. I did talk to Carol White the other day. and she should be finishing up the final, report pretty soon. And one of her questions was, she has another, a well monitor, a water monitoring thing. It's not as elaborate as the two that are in place right now, but she has another one which we use for free. And she's interested in monitoring the ferry landing.
The unused well at the fair landing?
Right, well, I told her the one we have, that is used basically
Quickly.
a couple hours, maybe, if that
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
once a week. And that it would get minimal use, but she thought it was important that, and the reason she wanted to use the ferry landing or the Wright House was because it is so close to the water
Right.
and trying to really monitor that closely. And I told her before, we did anything that we need the town's approval to do that. I couldn't give her that approval, so I told her I'd bring it up tonight. But she is finishing up the final report and should have that. And, my understanding is that she'll have a full list of potential, recommendation or just options.
Right.
And, that really it will be for the town, to get information out there, to really, educate people before we ever think about doing anything, serious. So, she talked about that she'll include things like simple voluntary ways that we can do things versus, the extreme end, which would be doing an ordinance or something.
Yeah.
So she'll include all of those in the final report.
Sounds right.
And is that gonna be like a public meeting in the final report? Are we gonna do some kind of or is it just gonna be presenting?
We could, that should be part of the first piece of, educating the public.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I've shared some thoughts, with you all already, but, it would be a great opportunity to, I guess, have a first cut at, okay, so what do you want to do about this? And, again, and I'm beating it more than further, I'd be happy to participate in an education project. So I really envision, small groups of living rooms, kind of clustered, some neighborhoods around the island. And getting all the information that we've obtained in everyone else's heads, so that everybody is working for the same level of factual information and understanding. And then having, within those same groups, conversations about the options and what do we want to do about this, if any. But I see it, in my view of it as 2-year projects, at least a year, maybe 2-year project. Talking to people, getting the island's level of understanding to a high point. And then, okay, so what do I want to do about this? Okay. And then trying to consensus and that's town making a decision on it. So,
Yeah.
but I guess my concern is, unless we have a program, unless we have a plan, my fear is that it's just gonna, physically, it's just like any movement forward. We have one example that I think we shared with you, maybe of the April, shared it with Dick, they shared it with me, that 2013, I think it was, well form that somebody would fill out when they're putting in, and it talked about town collecting data from that, doing something I was all, just sort of, this is a good idea, let's sort of do it as a voluntary thing. But there wasn't any structure to it, and as far as I can tell, it wasn't.
Right,
No,
right.
done.
Not,
Well, I think that's Carol's biggest worry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that the towns get this information and then
yeah,
nothing's
yeah,
done with it. So
Yeah.
we're very sensitive to that.
yeah, and I'm, I think it's absolutely right that it should be a planning. It's,
Mhm.
it should be,
Yeah.
I should be. It's an opportunity to create a.
And in order to make it really work, it's an island-wide issue. We need
Yeah.
buy-in
Yeah.
from everybody,
Yeah.
or as many people as possible. So that's gonna be the, probably, like you said, the biggest focus in the beginning.
Yeah. I've had side conversations with various people at various functions, and there's a real interest there. Everybody's kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. That's next step, waiting for, that's great, but that's gonna happen, and then we set it as spring. But I'd be happy, I'd be happy to participate, organize that, but I think obviously it's gotta be your product, what you guys wanna do. So I'd be happy to sit down with you and put together a proposal, detailed time. Cause I've done this before, I've been involved in it before, and it really works. But you gotta have a plan, you gotta say, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And then just do it and.
Okay, so we'll be calling you
Yeah.
or emailing you.
No, I'm,
Right, at that point, yeah.
I feel really strongly about this.
Yeah, no, I know. Yep.
It's an opportunity, nothing may come of it, but we need to make a deliberate decision about it. It's just, if I don't go to the doctor, I'm not gonna have a heart attack kind of thing, and
Exactly,
yes, right, I mean.
right.
We may be further down the road than we think we are, or we may be in really, really good shape, but, so just kind of say, well, let's wait and see what happens.
No.
That's stupid,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we put all this money, all this energy in this water study. And
There's an interest.
yeah, and I think there's still folks out there who don't understand. There's a full of water under the island that we're pulling. The water that we drink and bathe in is the water that falls on the land, mixes with whatever else we put on the land. And
Right.
it all comes,
Yeah.
together and we drink it and bathe in it and
Yeah.
whatever else.
Right,
So I think one of kind of moments
yeah,
for everybody is going to be a realization.
yes,
That's small island, it's all. It's all, water. Yeah, we don't take care of the, we're gonna be unhappy. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm hoping, John, in the next couple weeks that we'll have something from her. She's pretty much, she's on a recommendation part, and I think then we'll come together and, one of my fears is that if we don't go out and really educate people, there's gonna be that misinformation and people will hear that, oh, we're gonna do this or we're gonna do that. So I do think, and I think maybe doing it in somewhere was at our meeting that you and I went to, where the group I was in, where they were talking about the little neighborhoods. And so maybe that it's done, meetings are done by HOAs or whatever, where, you get that little community
Yeah.
involved
Yeah.
and as much as possible have those kind of meetings where they are able to talk about it. So we need to figure all that out, and I've got a note here. We will definitely be in contact when we get that report. I think that's the time that then we can start to really sit down based on what she has to say.
Yeah.
How to move forward with that. That should be coming out pretty soon. But what I need to do right now is, because I still don't have that, is I'd like to make a motion that we allow Carol White to add a well monitoring machine or whatever at the right house. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I will contact Carol tomorrow and let her know that, she'll do that. It'll be, like I said, a lot simpler version than, I think the other two, they can monitor them without even doing anything. I think they're just very elaborate systems that, but we'll start to monitor that, and I'll contact her tomorrow. So, we have the meeting schedule set. I think if there isn't any other business, now I'll, make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Right. Aye.
Okay. And 7:24.